Bournemouth dismiss Gary O'Neill. Brendan Rodgers returns to Celtic. Chelsea and Saudi Arabia connections continue to grow, with Chelsea removing a lot of dead wood from their squad to Saudi Arabia's growing influence. Liverpool looking to step up their rebuild this week. You've got Kyle Walker attracting interest from a couple of clubs from around Europe, but could he be about to re-sign with Manchester City? Joselu completes his move to Real Madrid, and Peter Drury is to replace Martin Tyler as the voice of Sky Sports. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another live stream. Back for another all new news video today. Got lots of topics to talk about, but as I always say, hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and forever be greatly appreciated. And like Ballum is here, get involved in that comment section. Get involved in the chat. Anything that you want to talk about, any kind of thoughts or comments, opinions, predictions, feelings on any of the stories that I'm going to be talking about, or anything that you want to talk about, will be greatly appreciated. Gary O'Neill used to work as Liverpool under-23 coaching staff, so he will have plenty of jobs available. A cult hero in the Premier League in a way. I'd imagine so. We'll get onto that a little bit later, but I would imagine so. While I'm surprised this isn't a 4 p.m. live stream, let's go. Gary O'Neill did well, kept them up. Is 75-year-old Roy Hodgson, the granddad of the Premier League, the only English manager now, it seems to be. Well, there's Eddie Howe as well. So there's Eddie Howe as well. Remember Eddie Howe of Newcastle. So there is Eddie Howe as well. Pretty sure Sheffield United's manager, I think, is English. I want to say. I'm not sure. And probably Luton Towns is now as well. So there might actually still be a couple, but in terms of top tier, it just seems like it's Eddie Howe left standing. It seems. Well done for your subscribers. Thank you very much, bro. Hope you're doing well, by the way. Hope you're having a very good start to your week on this very fine Monday afternoon. And yeah, I know it's a 3 o'clock stream. I don't really have a lot of consistency in my schedule. So it's going to be a daily sort of thing. But when that obviously occurs, will just be basically on how much time I have. So it'll be daily, but the consistency of time will not be there. So sometimes it will be probably like an early morning stream about 11 o'clock. Sometimes it might be a late stream at 7, something along them lines. Joselu reminds me of Iago Aspas. We'll get on to Joselu later on in the video. Jordan Hyman, hey dude, how you doing? Very good to see you, my dude. Hope you're well. Hope you're good. We're going to be talking some Liverpool stuff a little later on in this video. Will be interesting to see who Chelsea, who play in Fulham, bring in as backup. They can take Adrian from Liverpool if they wish. Well, with seemingly Mendy on the way out, they might be in search of a goalkeeper. Wish I could. I wish they could. Can I join for that? Of course you can. Of course you can. Say what? I was going to do the Liverpool stuff a little later, but we can talk about the Liverpool stuff right now. Essentially, what is going to be happening allegedly is that Liverpool are going to step up their rebuild this week. Liverpool are apparently going to step up their rebuild. They're going to look to strengthen in that midfield area. Kefren Turam allegedly is edging ever closer. Whether that actually happens or not remains to be seen. There's also talk about Ryan Gravenberch of Bayern. I forgot the team then. Bayern Munich. Allegedly, he's open to them to a move away from Bayern, but it's going to probably take a little bit of convincing on Liverpool's part to get a feed together between themselves and Bayern. But it does look very promising that this week there could be some movement with Liverpool in terms of some movement for Liverpool in terms of continuing their rebuild. Alexis McAllister's already through the door. There's plenty of talk surrounding Kefren Turam. That there may be some sort of significant move and significant decision made this week in regards to him, whether it's on the player's part, whether it's on the club's part. There could be something to do with them. And along with that as well, like I say, Ryan Gravenberch seems to be a player that Liverpool have admired. We've talked about him in the past as well. Liverpool are long-term admirers, and has got a lot of potential. Very good for the here and now, and seems like a very good player that Liverpool or ticks a lot of Jurgen Klopp's and Liverpool's boxes in terms of recruiting a midfielder. So it does seem very positive in that Liverpool could be making significant moves this week and making more waves in this transfer window. You three were yes, of course, anytime. One day, Jordan, me, and you can join and chat with Lech. Yeah, I'm going to look into that, see if I can try and get more people involved in this, try and get more people to have their say and everything. So, but for the time being, until I can sort that out, comment section is obviously the way to go about it. You know who was on my mind yesterday? Rafa Benitez. Rafa Benitez wanted Premier League move, job as a manager, journalists tell me. Yeah, he just loves England now. He just seems to love England and wants to stay in England, hence why, as a last resort, I think he sort of took the Everton job. But yeah, we'll have to see on that one. Obviously, Bournemouth's now available. It could be a possibility that he goes to Bournemouth, and that will be a big move for the Cherries, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. But yeah, a little bit of Liverpool news in the terms of they're looking to step up their business this week. Whether that actually happens or not remains to be seen. Like I say, I've got my fingers crossed that it's on Kefren Turan, because I think he improves Liverpool right off the bat from coming in, if he is to. But also Ryan Gravenberch is another one that I am very much interested in as well. But we'll have to obviously wait and see on that one. Moving on. Again, this news broke as I was about to go live. So I had to kind of read up a little bit on this. It comes from David Ornstein. It's in regards to Bernardo Silva. Allegedly, Bernardo Silva has a lucrative deal on the table to take him from Manchester City to Saudi Arabia. Now, Saudi Arabia's influence is obviously growing, and we'll get more onto that a little later as well, because we've definitely not heard the last of Saudi Arabia. I'm getting a little bit bored of talking about it, to be honest, but every single time, we just seem to be talking about something happening or some player going to Saudi Arabia. Yesterday, we were talking about Ruben Neves going to Saudi Arabia and what a massive move that would be, and what a disappointing move on Neves' part that is. So, of course, that is to be the case. But according to David Ornstein, Bernardo Silva could be the latest player linked in a long line of players that is going to be going to Saudi Arabia, or is going to be under the influence of Saudi Arabia this summer. According to Ornstein, Bernardo Silva has received lucrative Saudi opportunity. Talks have taken place with George Mendes. Financial numbers discussed. 28-year-old Manchester City midfielder thought to favour Europe. PSG and Barcelona both keen, but considering all options. Now, it's sort of like Wilfried Zaha of years gone by, in which the transfer window is open whenever you hear speculation surrounding Bernardo Silva. It's happened for the past few years. So, of course, more speculation being driven up kind of tells me the transfer window most definitely is open. But this is, again, another sign of Saudi's money influencing players, trying to get big name profile players. And, again, City don't stand in the way of their players wanting to leave if they want to leave. And this is a big financial, at least, opportunity for Bernardo Silva to jump at. And of course, that will be the main reason as to why he is leaving, because although City will probably pay him a very handsome wage as well, of course, Saudi Arabia will probably blow them out of the water, mainly because obviously City will want to spend that kind of money on other players and spread the cost around. And there's also certain other things to consider and stuff. But Saudi just have money that they seem to be throwing at anybody and everybody right now. If Bernardo Silva wants to leave at 28 years of age, I guess it's his choice. And the difference between him and Ruben Neves is that I feel like Ruben Neves at his age of, I think it was like, 26, 27, something along them lines, had a lot more to prove. He went from a Wolves side that were winning nothing. They were comfortable in sort of lower mid-table Premier League standings, to obviously not winning anything, not really challenging for much, just going about their season as it was. And Neves was head and shoulders above the rest of that Wolves squad, it seemed, for a large part of his time there. And then, of course, he goes to Saudi Arabia. Now, if Bernardo Silva is to follow suit and go to Saudi Arabia, the difference there is that Bernardo Silva's pretty much done everything there is to win at a domestic level. And I think he was also part of Portugal's Euro squad? So he's done something on an international level as well, if that is to be the case. I don't actually remember if he was part of that squad or not. But at the same time, he's basically won everything there is on a domestic cup level, that he can now do whatever he wants. In my opinion, he's still 28 years of age, so he's still got a few years left at the top level. So if he wanted to go to PSG and Barcelona, as Ornstein says is his preference, that's fine. He can definitely do that. And maybe going back to, not back, but, maybe going to Spain is ideal. It's slightly more closer to home, I guess, in terms of obviously Portugal and everything. So it's closer than what it is right now to England. If he wanted to go PSG, again, they'd offer him a handsome wage as well. So that could be interesting. But at the same time, I just feel like if he wanted to go to Saudi Arabia, if he wanted that payday, because he's basically done everything that there is at a domestic cup level with Manchester City. Maybe he's looking for a new challenge. Maybe he's looking to set up for retirement. Maybe he's trying to look to set up for life. Maybe he's trying to look to set up for his friends and family and everything. It's more or slightly more understandable for him to go than, say, a Ruben Neves, who still had a lot more to prove at a top level, still had a lot more room to grow and everything. But at least Silva's won trophies. At least Silva has done everything at a domestic cup level. And like I say, City don't stand in the way of their players leaving. If Pep has a discussion with him and he wants to leave, Pep will gladly show him the door on the way out. He'll give him a good send-off and everything, but he'll show him the door on the way out, and City will keep the wheel spinning by bringing in a replacement. City will constantly keep that wheel spinning, and with the money they have, you can understand why that is the case. But this one could be very interesting, Bernardo Silva. Like I say, I think he stays in Europe, but again, I wouldn't hold it against him or wouldn't judge him if he actually did go to Saudi Arabia. One of the few players to actually go to Saudi Arabia, and I wouldn't judge, to be honest, because, like I say, although the age says he's got a fair few years at the top level, and we all know how important he is to Manchester City. And although I don't like him on like a personal level, but at the same time, as a player, he is quality. You cannot deny that. I feel like he can do whatever he wants. I feel like he's won enough that he can basically now choose wherever he wants to go to, whether it is the shock move of Saudi Arabia or whether it is the more, shall we say, sensible or rather more competitive move of going to a PSG or a Barcelona. Jorge Mendes wants to move Bernardo Silva on, it seems. Like I say, bro, we go through this seemingly every year now. Like, Bernardo Silva seems to be a player that the media draws attention to every single transfer window, and it seems like speculation continues to snowball every single time they do so. So we'll wait and see. Have you heard of the new Bournemouth manager? You're an expert in Spanish culture in La Liga. I wouldn't go that far, bro. I wouldn't go. I'm a complete expert. I cast my eye over some La Liga football. It's dropped off a little bit since the Ronaldo Messi era obviously came to an end, but I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I don't know. I'll have to do some research on the new manager. If obviously has the new manager's been appointed, or is it just being talked about? I'm not sure. What we're talking about? Oh, Andoni I can't even pronounce his name, let alone actually know who it is. Iriola. Oh, Jesus, that was terrible. I am so bad with names. I do apologize. I'll have to do some research. on that. Bernardo Silva could copy countryman Cristiano and go to Saudi Arabia. Yes. Yeah, that's true. Obviously following fellow countrymen. Never stop, Fletch will never stop with these streams talking about expert analysis. Saudi Arabia offers players good money to manage their finances. Well, I'm hoping to get better. I'm not expert level yet, definitely not, but I'm hoping to get better on that. Yes, I've just read it. Like I say, I'll have to do some research on it, but obviously that kind of segues into my next point, which is Bournemouth sacking their manager in Gary O'Neill. Shocked by this news. 100% shocked by this news to wake up to today. It's a madness. It's an absolute madness. This is a guy who came in after Scott Parker ultimately failed after, I think it was 4 games of the season. He took charge of 37 games, I think it was, in all competitions. He won 10 games in the league and drew 6 and helped Bournemouth to an incredible finish in the Premier League. Something, was it 14th or something? 13th, 14th, 15th, somewhere along them lines. Absolutely incredible finish for a side that was destined and doomed to be relegated. So much so that Bournemouth put out a compilation at the end of their season mocking everybody that basically said they're going to go down, they've got no chance of staying up, they're already confirmed to be relegated right at the beginning of the season in pre-season predictions. I don't get it. I don't get that. I at least thought he deserved a chance to keep them up next season as well, and to go again for the next campaign and properly be the manager of Bournemouth Football Club going forward. It's a massive gamble, this, especially considering that this is a manager with little to no Premier League experience, it seems. Like I said, I don't know too much about him, so it's a massive gamble. Massive gamble to take away this player. It might have been that Gary O'Neill would have suffered with second season syndrome anyway, as a lot of newly promoted teams tend to do, in terms of they stay up one season, they go down the next. But at the same time, I'm really, really surprised that this has taken place. I'm very surprised that he's gone from the role. Bournemouth have decided to get rid of him and bring in a guy who is seemingly fresh-faced and new to the Premier League, new to the culture and everything. It's a massive gamble. Like I said, I don't know too much about this, so I'll have to do my research. But is this guy highly rated? Is this guy got something that I don't know about? Is this guy the next big thing? I don't know. I genuinely don't really know much about this guy right off the top of my head. So we'll have to see. But yeah, I'm very surprised by this news. A lot of people are seemingly shocked, and some are even angry, and I think some will even want to see Bournemouth go down again next season for the way they've treated this manager, who, like I say, faced a massive uphill battle to maintain the Premier League status of this Bournemouth side. A lot of people said they were going to be sacked. They were going to be relegated. A lot of people joined that bandwagon as soon as Scott Parker was sacked. A madness to me. A madness. I do not understand this at all. no one expected Gary to leave this morning. Last season, we expected Bournemouth to go down. Scott Parker had last match was that 9-0 loss. Yeah, I remember that 9-0 loss. Obviously, it was to Liverpool, wasn't it? So, of course, I remember that very vividly. We must remember Bournemouth have new owners and Michael B. Jordan as owner. Sad to see young English manager go. The young Spanish manager is now in. Bournemouth new ownership could help them long term. It's going to be interesting with Bournemouth. Like I say, it's a massive gamble, this. It's a massive gamble. Sometimes it works out. I remember sat here a few years ago, I was talking about Brighton sacking Chris Hughton and bringing in Graham Potter, a manager from the Championship, obviously formerly of Swansea. And I said that this is a massive gamble, and I don't quite understand it because I thought Chris Hughton was building something. I thought Chris Hughton was slowly but surely progressing Brighton to continue to grow in the Premier League and continue to be a mainstay in the Premier League. And then, of course, Graham Potter came in and was a big success in terms of what Brighton managed to achieve, and has helped Brighton along the way to help them being the club they are today, where they're about to be in the Europa League for next season. So these things do have a case of working out, I guess, but it's a big gamble for Bournemouth. Did you know Bournemouth and West Ham are two teams who don't own their stadium? Bournemouth pay rent, and apparently Google say that some random London company own Bournemouth grounds. So random. Yeah, I don't. If that's true, then that's a bit bizarre for a Premier League club, I think. Or is it that bizarre? I'm not 100% sure. I don't have to do more research on that side of things. Graham Potter was linked with Bournemouth also. See, again, if that's the case, why not Graham Potter? Because my argument is that, okay, his time at Chelsea didn't quite pan out as everybody expected. But to jump ship at the time that he did in a team and a club that was in complete disarray, with signings aplenty and having to kind of gel together all at the same time, with no proper striker up front other than Kai Havertz, who, for whatever reason, for randomly now, everybody's saying Kai Havertz is not good enough. But when he's leading the line for Chelsea and he's constantly missing chances for Graham Potter, apparently it's Graham Potter's fault he's not good enough. Explain to me that one. Explain to me why you wouldn't go for a Graham Potter who's Premier League proven, managed Brighton, got them, helped them to where they are today, about to participate in the Europa League. I don't get it. I don't get why you wouldn't go for a tried and tested Graham Potter over a guy who is very much new to everything, new to the surroundings, new to the culture, new to the club, and everything along those lines. Like, it's a massive gamble for this guy. It's less of a gamble for Potter, in my opinion. I just personally don't understand it. And like I say, if you were to get rid of Gary O'Neill, which wouldn't have been my personal choice, I would have at least said, you know what, you deserve to stay on. Potter would have been the way to go for me. If that was obviously the case, I don't understand it. Chelsea are still going to sign everybody. It seems that way, doesn't it? There's going to be a lot of a whole lot of transfer activity with Chelsea, but we'll get onto that shortly. From one manager being sacked to another being appointed, Brendan Rodgers is back in football, back in Scotland, and back managing Celtic Football Club. Brendan Rodgers has been appointed as the new Celtic manager. Welcome back, Brendan. Celtic FC is delighted to announce that Brendan Rodgers has been appointed the club's new football manager on a 3-year contract. Let's get to work, was the tweet put out by Celtic Football Club today to officially announce the return of Brendan Rodgers, a guy who, of course, previously managed Celtic, led them to an invincible season, a treble-winning season, and I want to say back-to-back treble-winning seasons, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that. Was it a back-to-back treble-winning season? I believe it was. For me, for Celtic, it might not have been a popular decision, especially with the way that he left Celtic partway through the season to go and jump ship to Leicester. But I think it's a solid choice in terms of maybe setting them up for success again for years to come. On Brendan Rodgers' part, though, it is the most comfortable, obvious choice that he could have made. He could have basically sat back and said, I'll wait for something else to come along that might be a bit more challenging. He decided to go back to comfort. He decided to go back to Celtic. And if it's mainly about personal life, maybe he liked it up in Scotland. Maybe he liked the culture and the surroundings and everything of Scotland and everything, then fine, fair enough. You know, they are human beings at the end of the day with families and everything. And maybe that's the case, that maybe it was more of a background thing rather than solely a job thing. But at the same time, like I say, it's easy, it's comfortable, it's less challenging than somewhere else. For Celtic, like I said, I think it sets them up for success long term because we know that he's obviously got a proven record of doing it. And since obviously leaving Celtic, he's obviously led Leicester to a brilliant FA Cup run and triumph there. But like I say, I think this is too simple, too obvious, too comfortable for Brendan Rodgers. And it is what it is, essentially, isn't it? Brendan Rodgers went unbeaten with Celtic before. He made Scott Sinclair look great in the league. Scott Sinclair, that's a bit of a throwback. It's the Scottish League. Yeah. My thoughts on the Scottish League are very similar. It's a Scottish League, and I got slated for that when I talked about Ange Postecoglou going to Tottenham. And my overall basis on that argument was not about the Scottish League, or was not about him as a manager, sorry. It was about the Scottish League as a whole. So, yeah, won't say no more about that. I think back to back because no Rangers in that league for a while. At Leicester, he won them the FA Cup first time. Apparently, he's bought Celtic. Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, maybe it's the culture, maybe it's the fact that he supports. I don't know if that's the case. But we'll see. We'll see. What went wrong for Brendan at Liverpool? He was the nearly manager. Yeah. Well, obviously in that season, he got everything right, and then he didn't build upon it. And losing their best player in Luis Suarez the season after, of course, didn't help. And he took a massive gamble on Mario Balotelli coming in. And of course, Balotelli didn't work out. And whilst I still agree that the gamble was there to be had with Balotelli, he probably should have brought in a backup as well, just in case the backup didn't work out, which he never did. You're replacing you're replacing Suarez with Balotelli. Like it seemed like a very unfair trade, to be honest. And obviously that was the way it panned out. It could have worked out differently had obviously Balotelli's mindset been different and better. And obviously had certain other situations panned out, maybe Sturridge's injuries hadn't have been as bad. Maybe he could have continued on with his fine form that he showed in the previous season and all and everything. But there was too many gambles made by Brendan Rodgers and by Liverpool at that time that ultimately saw Liverpool go from being title contenders one year to then being back to being mediocre the year after. And like I say, Luis Suarez was a massive, massive part of that. Brendan will want to push Celtic on and win some matches in the Champions League after Rangers have been doing well in Europe last few years. Yeah, I mean, I still feel sorry for Rangers that they missed out. Was it by penalties against Frankfurt in the Europa League a couple of years ago now? Very, very unfortunate. Very, very, very unfortunate. But you never know with Celtic, Champions League wise. If they manage to get a decent enough group, there's a slim chance they could possibly get through to the knockout stages, and that will be good enough for them, I think. But it's all about getting a good group, and they tend to get the worst kind of group imaginable. So we'll have to wait and see. Ricky Lambert, the Liverpool fan, Fabio Borini, injured Daniel Sturridge. Exactly. That was the story of Liverpool's season that year. Ricky Lambert, a guy brought in from Southampton, very good for Southampton, played the way to their strengths, and then we signed him, didn't play to his strengths at all, tried his best, bless him, but it just wasn't good enough. Fabio Borini, a lot of potential, didn't work out at all. And then Daniel Sturridge, he was already a great player, but what a player he would have been even more so had his injuries not been as frequent. But it's so frustrating. It was such a great player to watch. Pace, skill, a bit of creativity on his side as well. And then obviously a killer instinct up front. It's just a shame that his injuries kind of influenced him heavily. 2013-14 season, they were close, bad defeats. The seasons such as Liverpool 0, Southampton 1, Dejan Lovren had to be him. Southampton were Liverpool's B team at that point. Every team has that. I think every team has that certain along the way. Like you see right now, Arsenal are trying to buy a ton of City players, for example. Mikel Arteta's going back to his former club of City, and Liverpool had that for a time with Southampton, the likes of Adam Lallana, Ricky Lambert, as you say, Dejan Lovren, Virgil van Dijk. You know, it's just the way that sometimes it pans out. Some players just gravitate, and some clubs just manage to sign just a bunch of really good, promising players that ultimately get snapped up by one or two teams. So, yeah, and Southampton, we know, have had some very good players in the past. Not just the ones that Liverpool have signed, but elsewhere, some other players have signed. So, interesting stuff. Dejan scored for the Saints that day. Yes, he did. Had to be. Okay, bro, I'll have to go. Looks as though Koulibaly is leaving after your report the other day. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Chelsea next. Unfortunately, you can't stick around for that. But thank you very much for coming by, bro. And nice to hear from you. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks very much. And I'll see you again soon. I'll probably talk to you as well at some point. But yes, we are going to move on to the Chelsea situation. Now, very interesting, this Chelsea situation, because they have a lot of players on the chopping block at Chelsea. We talked about how there's going to be a lot of activity, whether it's incomings or outgoings at the door at Stamford Bridge this summer. Well, there seems to be a lot of outgoings, and they seem to be going to one place in particular, Saudi Arabia. According to Fabrizio Romano, he understands that Edouard Mendy has now agreed personal terms with Saudi Arabian side Al Ali. Contract will be valid until June 2026. Negotiations at final stages for Senegal goalkeeper to join Saudi League from Chelsea on a permanent deal. Here we go soon. He follows it up with other tweets as well in regards to this, as do a lot of other journalists that say that deal isn't done and dusted just yet, but it does seem extremely likely that he's going to be going, and there are going to be some other players that are going to follow suit. The likes of Kalidou Koulibaly, for example, and Hakim Ziyech are also touted as being following him out the door at Stamford Bridge and jumping on a plane to Saudi Arabia and resuming their football career over there. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is another one that could also be joining them. The thing that's got everybody annoyed about this is the fact that allegedly the source of Saudi Arabian consortium on this have also got big shares or part ownership of Chelsea Football Club themselves. So they feel like it's cheating FFP. They feel like they're just moving money around for players. They're trying to obviously prioritize Chelsea, get these players that have got some sort of profile over to the Saudi Arabian League to boost up their league, and whilst also getting rid of players on Chelsea's side, removing some of the wage bill in terms of your likes of N'Golo Kante, and obviously these players are going to be sold, of course, and also giving Chelsea some money in at the same time, whilst also not breaking FFP. This, like I say, seems to have got a lot of people annoyed by this, but at the same time, it is what it is, and it's not technically breaking FFP rules. It's an area that doesn't go into in depth in terms of Premier League ruling. I don't think, from what I can tell from what a lot of people are saying, it doesn't go into that much depth. As in terms of where the money is coming from, who owns them, and that kind of thing. I don't know too much about it, admittedly, and the financial stuff, kind of bores me a little bit. I know it's important and everything, but it kind of bores me a little bit. But at the same time, the Premier League don't care where that money comes from as long as they can prove it's legitimate, prove it's real, and proves that they're spending and selling within their means. You can sell a player for however much you like. That's the whole point of the transfer market. You don't have a set price. It's not like the Premier League are coming by and individually saying this player is only worth 20 million. You can only sell him for 20 million. This player is worth 25 million. You can only sell him for 25 million. So on and so forth. Yourself, whoever you like, however you like. And Chelsea and Todd Boehly have once again found another loophole. That means that they've gone out their way. They've made connections with Saudi Arabia, with people in Saudi Arabia. They've had conversations about how they can boost their league, how they can obviously acquire more talented players. And of course, that is exactly what they're doing right now in terms of this. They're using Chelsea as much as Chelsea are using them for financial gain. And everything is coming together pretty nicely for Chelsea to make some pretty tasty profit and some pretty tasty money, shall we say, on these types of players. Like I say, it says that Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, PIF, have billions of pounds of assets managed by Clearlake, who brought 60% of Chelsea. So there you have it. That is basically what I've been trying to say in terms of where that money is coming from, essentially. Because, like I said, a lot of people seem to be annoyed by it, and a lot of people seem to be saying that this is unfair, this is cheating. It's not. It's a sort of loophole in ways to obviously accommodate for Chelsea getting rid of some dead wood, for Chelsea bringing in some money, and for Chelsea to be able to use that money to spend, clear the wage budget a little bit, and again, use all the money that they're going to be saving on buying new players. It's smart. It's, again, something that no one else has done, so people are kind of seeing this as relatively new, and that's why people don't quite understand it. But if there was a legitimate sort of issue with it, it wouldn't be so public. Because if it was to be public now, obviously a lot of people would be kind of on the phone to the Premier League and saying, you might need to take a look at this. This just seems like another clever loophole by Todd Boehly, created by him, along with obviously his big money contracts, that, again, should be looked at. And maybe there will be something to look at it and go, right, we need to close up this kind of loophole going forward, because it does seem a little bit dodgy. Because although I see it as not being a massive problem, because obviously it's just the way that football is done. And I think, let's face it, whether not maybe to this extent, but there probably have been issues and things like this go on in the past that may not have drawn that much attention and may not have been under the microscope so much. But yeah, here we are. The Premier League are obviously not seeing a massive problem with it. In my opinion, it's no different to having a feeder club, having a club that you obviously send your some of your best players to, whether it be a sweetened sort of deal, a permanent deal, a sort of permanent deal in terms of obviously finances and fees and things like that, or whether it be loan deals and things like that. So, there's a lot to kind of take in from this and a lot to look into. And yes, I agree, it does look a little bit suspicious and a little bit dodgy. I get that. But at the same time, it's smart on Chelsea's part. It means that they can clear the wage bill, clear some of their deadwood, and before you know it, if everything does go according to plan, if they do manage to remove about 4 or 5 players off of their books in the coming weeks to Saudi Arabia, get some of that Saudi Arabian money, and then they can start splashing it again. Obviously, Chelsea do need to bolster up their squad massively. Pochettino's got a massive summer ahead of him, and it's going to be a very, very busy summer as what Chelsea are concerned. But like I say, in regards to obviously this, it seems a bit dodgy. It seems a bit suspicious, I guess you'd say, in ways. But it does seem like the Premier League doesn't go into too much depth as to where this money is coming from. As long as you can prove where it's coming from, they don't care who has that money. They just want to see proof it's genuine and legitimate. And that is obviously what Clearwater and Chelsea are doing right now. And like I say, it seems to be a bit of a loophole that Chelsea are exploiting to the maximum capacity. Whether or not, obviously, things change in the future, whether or not this causes a sort of investigation by the Premier League to close up that loophole, I don't know. We'll have to just wait and see on that one, because remember, the long contracts ruling seemed to obviously get the Premier League talking and thinking about this. So obviously now Chelsea are going to have to look at the rule book again and see if they can find any other ways to exploit the financial fair play rules that the Premier League have set. But I just love the idea that every Premier League club is now bringing in lawyers and bringing in whoever else to sort of look at Premier League rulings, if that is to be the case. I just love the idea that they're in a room right now, tons of people looking at the Premier League rules. One person's reading page 1, another person's reading page 5, another person's reading page 10, going through that. It just amuses me. Don't know whether I'm making that up. Don't know whether I'm just talking absolute nonsense, but it just amuses me that that might be the case. Quick one on Kyle Walker next. We're going to move on to the England right back. We talked earlier this week, or last week sometime, that he might be on his way out of the Etihad. He might be done with Manchester City. He seemingly is annoyed at some of the playing time. He was annoyed about being dropped for the Champions League final. He seemingly might be on the move this summer away from Manchester City. Now, of course, like I said earlier, Manchester City don't stand in the way of their players wanting to leave. And if Walker wants to leave, that's fine, fair enough. And at 33 years of age, maybe City themselves are looking to try and maybe move him on whilst they still have the opportunity to do so. And of course, when you consider that City are playing a 3 at the back formation now, there's not really a need for a right back in their current formation. He could be just used as depth. And of course, he can play as that right centre-back role. Maybe, just maybe, it might be the perfect time to move him on. Well, allegedly, Kyle Walker is attracting a fair amount of interest from a couple of teams from across Europe. Bayern Munich have seemingly made their interest known and have seemingly been testing the waters. But more surprisingly, allegedly, Liverpool are also said to be involved. Now, in my personal opinion, I get this. I understand this. I understand that for the position he plays in, that's what Liverpool are going to be looking at. A player who can play the right centre-back role and can also play at right back. He can be cover for Trent. He can be cover for that right centre-back position. And if needs be, of course, he can play as a 4 at the back, or whether it's still going to be that 3 at the back that obviously Klopp kind of shifted to towards the end of the season. 100% understand that completely in terms of position and in terms of what he can offer as well. He's still got plenty of pace, so there can be plenty of recoveries. And of course, he brings with him a winning mentality and a bit of leadership in that back line because of obviously how he's grown as a player over recent years and the amount of trophies that he has won. 100% get what he brings to the table. I personally don't see this materializing because of A, his age, and B, I think money-wise, I think Liverpool could probably look at maybe putting that money that they would spend on Kyle Walker towards maybe putting someone for maybe the present and maybe the future as well. I just don't see it materializing, and I hope it doesn't really materialize. I don't I don't really rate Kyle Walker that highly. I think he's good. I think he can do a good job. But I think if he didn't have pace, and I know that's like saying it's a hypothetical if, and everything. But at the same time, like, I just think if he didn't have pace, he wouldn't be as good a defender as what people make him out to be. I don't rate him as a quality or high quality defender. I think he's good. I just don't think he's that good that people make him out to be. That's just my personal opinion. I think that he gets away with a lot of his mistakes. He gets away with because he has pace, and I think people are terrified to take him on in 1v1s because he has pace that can recover. But at the same time, we'll wait and see on the future of Kyle Walker. It does seem like a move away from Manchester City is very much possible. Whether Liverpool are legitimately interested or not remains to be seen. Bayern seems to obviously be making their presence known a little bit more. And obviously Bayern linked with a lot of players right now as Thomas Tuchel continues this rebuild. So we'll wait and see what happens on him. But there are also conflicting reports that maybe, just maybe, Walker will be staying at the Etihad, staying at Manchester City this season, and maybe City are looking at maybe extending his contract beyond next year's expiry in 2024. So we'll wait and see, obviously, what happens. Maybe there's a case of maybe there is a case of Walker staying on at City. Maybe there is a case of maybe Walker wanting to leave. Maybe there will be a new challenge he wants to accomplish. Maybe Saudi Arabia will probably come in for him like they seem to be coming in for everybody else. We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see on the future of Kyle Walker. But it's just very interesting to me that has happened. Moving on, quick one on Joselu. He's completed his move to Real Madrid. Fabrizio Romano confirmed Joselu joins Real Madrid on a loan deal from Espanyol for 500k fee. 1.5 million euro buy option clause, not mandatory, is also included into the contract. This one is very much bizarre. It could be one of the most bizarre transfers of this summer, and we haven't really even got into the transfer window properly right now. This guy is a player that has been around a lot, been around a long time. He's 33 years of age. He's been around a lot. He's been to Spain. He's been to Germany. He's been to England. And now he's back. And obviously the past few years, he's been back in Spain. Bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. Like, surely there are better options out there. Now, I know that he's found his feet in Spain, and I understand that he actually had a very decent season last season for, was it Espanyol? Yes, Espanyol. I understand that. I understand that he actually had a decent season. He scored 16 goals and assisted twice in 34 appearances for the La Liga club. So that's essentially just under a goal, or that's essentially just over a goal contribution every other game, which is actually impressive. But at the same time, at 33 years of age, okay, I know it's a loan deal and everything, so it doesn't really make for a massive gamble. And obviously, it's a guy who knows the league very well. It's just been very interesting to see his sort of career trajectory just go up and down and up and down and up and down until the point where he's now at Real Madrid. From obviously being at the likes of Celta Vigo and Stoke. This guy was at Stoke City at one point and then moved to obviously Newcastle, not the Newcastle that we know of them today and what we can project of them in the future. And Newcastle that were obviously scraping, or under Mike Ashley at least, looked like they were scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of transfers because obviously he was another terrible owner. Just bizarre to see his career trajectory take off the way that it has to the point now where he's possibly seeing out the rest of his career at Real Madrid. Maybe the option to buy becomes permanent. who knows? We'll wait and see on that one. I just found it amusing to me that a player has gone on a real wacky roller coaster of a career to the point where he is now currently at Real Madrid at 33 years of age on loan, leading that front line, and as of right now, seemingly trying to fill the boots of one Karim Benzema. Bizarre to me, madness, but we'll wait and see, obviously, what the rest of the transfer window has in store for Real Madrid going forward. Last story. I know this came out yesterday, but I forgot to talk about it in yesterday's video. Peter Drury has signed for Sky Sports. Yes, it's not just clubs that are doing business as well. It is broadcasting teams, and I think this could be a massive signing as far as what Sky Sports are concerned. Obviously, we've heard the news that Martin Tyler is going to be leaving Sky Sports and obviously will not be the voice, shall we say, of Sky Sports going forward. Peter Drury is going to join Sky Sports ahead of this forthcoming season. In my opinion, fantastic setup, this one. This is a guy that I like listening to. I like listening to him because you can sense his enthusiasm. You can sense his love for this sport. You can sense his love for football as a whole. And every time he commentates, he brings with him a sort of unique style, a beautiful kind of poetic sort of vibe to his words. And he's obviously doing better than me at my words right now. Basically, I just admire what he says, how he says it, and his enthusiasm and love for this sport. I think he's brilliant, and I think he's going to replace a aging dinosaur in Martin Tyler, who clearly, for the past several years, hasn't been at the top of his game. I understand that he once was, and I think maybe over time you can maybe expect to lose a bit of love for the game and a bit of enthusiasm for the game, and I think that's what happened to Martin Tyler in the end. Because I was fed up with hearing him. A lot of people were fed up with hearing him. He seemed to be very selective, and I use that term very lightly, over who he actually did seem to get more excited for. Manchester United. Sorry, bad cough there. But yeah, he seemed to be very selective who he seemed to get excited for. And like I say, it just seemed to dry up the kind of atmosphere and the game itself a little bit with his commentary over the past several years. Peter Drury coming in, I think, will raise that level. I think he will come in and show his enthusiasm, show his love for the game like he tends to do. And I can't wait to hear more of his historical and beautifully poetic monologues that obviously have made him a guy who a lot of people on social media and a lot of people watching seem to love and admire. If Sky can now seemingly find a way to tempt Ali McCoist to be his co-commentator, that would be perfect. And that would be the absolutely goated duo. Obviously, leave Gary Neville to be with Jamie Carragher, and those two can continue to have the kind of back and forth banter that we kind of all like and love to see. We may not necessarily agree with their opinions and everything, but them two as a duo that bounce off each other and they go back and forth with each other is amusing. And I think there will always be a place for that. And if you can find two people with that kind of chemistry, keep them at all costs. I think they're great. But if you can find a way, Sky, to have Ali McCoist come over and be the co-commentator to Peter Drury, then those two would be the absolute goated duo in the commentary box. And I, for one, would absolutely love Super Sundays again and can actually probably watch the game with the mute button off in some cases. Right, I think we've covered a lot. I think we've covered everything that I wanted to cover. It's been a little bit all over the place, this stream, but it can make for a good stream. It can make for a bad stream. Depends how you really look at it, really, innit? But yeah, Another interesting stream, another interesting round of talking points. And of course, as I always say, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it. This guy, I want to know what you guys think. I want to know what you guys think and feel about anything I've talked about in this video. Do leave your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings in the comment section, whether it's on anything that I talked about or whether it's anything that you want to talk about for a future video or live stream. That could all make for interesting and great reading. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way up. Enjoy the video. Subscribe if you're new and want to see more content like this. Both things always and forever be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I'll see you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever the hell it may be. Peace out.